I'm your host, Donna Cates, and each week we'll dive into powerful stories, expert strategies, and practical tools to help you take charge of your financial future. Whether you're planning for retirement, navigating a divorce, or simply looking to build your wealth with confidence, this is your space to grow, learn, and thrive. Let's get started with today's podcast. Katherine, we were just speaking about what you see as your biggest failures or challenges that you faced at this point in your life and how that's actually shaped the way that you're doing business today. Tell me more about that.
Yeah. So I started my business coming off maternity leave, and my first kid didn't sleep. So I was actually trying to get a full-time job, but the only jobs I've been hired for are entrepreneur jobs where they hire you to create this brand new department and plan and whatever, which I'm good at, but it's exhausting. It requires a lot of hours. And I was like, with kids, I don't know if I can do that again. So my other option was starting my own business. But massively sleep deprived for the first 2 years. That first kid was not a good sleeper. Um, and so I've discovered two things. One, I actually doubled down more on technical SEO because I can't do creative things when I have no sleep under my belt. But man, I can troubleshoot a 3 million page website really easily. I don't know why, but give me a huge my first website was 2 million pages out of Saudi Arabia. It was half in English and half in Saudi Arabian. I was like, fine, or Arabic. I was like, fine, I can audit that, no problem. So that was the one insight, and I still do technical SEO. But then the second piece is I need help. You can't actually run a business by yourself. I'm shocked with those people that try. So early on, I knew I'm not great at bookkeeping. So bookkeeper was first on my list. That one was easy. That was easy. But then also I was like, you know what? I think I need a virtual assistant for a couple of reasons. One, they could be my second set of eyes. So I don't, kick out an email that's incoherent. This is before Grammarly could check things, right?
Right.
So I had a virtual assistant pretty early on, and man, it was so helpful because I'm point on my kids. So my husband plays for the president's own Marine Band at the White House. When he's there with CNN filming him, he cannot answer a cell phone. So I'm point on the kids. And there was this moment where at that point, my littlest was 2. And off a cold, she ended up in the hospital for a week on high doses of albuterol and oxygen. And instead of having to figure out my client load and getting worried about that, I just emailed my virtual assistant, got her access to my email, and was like, reschedule all my client meetings. I'm going to spend time with my kid in the hospital, right? And it's just been so helpful. I mean, that was the beginning case of me using my VAs. I now use my VAs for a ton of things. But I do and they're offshore, but I do recommend people when they're getting started, think about things that are time consuming that possibly you could offload, and think about things beyond just your business too. Because if you're doing something that's time intensive, it's taking you away from your business. So for instance, when my mother was living in Maine, I needed to find a house cleaner for her, and Mainers can't answer emails to save their life. It's like all phone calls and weird profiles on Facebook. I mean, seriously. And so you're digging around in Facebook. Oh, so time consuming. So time consuming. So pretty quickly, I ramped up my virtual assistant in the Philippines about the geography of Maine and had him track down a house cleaner.
Oh my goodness.
Because how much hours would I have lost working on my business if I was doing that? And someone had to do it, right? So anyway, that's my big tip. That's my challenge and my big tip. So at the moment I'm actually disabled, so we have to be COVID cautious, and we homeschool the 2 kids for the same reason. They've got my genetics, unfortunately. So it's always balancing around the kids and stuff. And my VAs are essential to me getting some of that done.
Well, that is awesome. And I totally want to appreciate the fact that you acknowledge that you can't do it all, because so many women, we think we can, or that we're just supposed to, we're expected to. So kudos to you for being able to say, hey, I realize I can't do it all. And I'm in the same space. I'm totally in the same space. So let me ask you this. Financial journeys are often intertwined with professional success and challenges. Can you share some insights with me on your personal financial growth over the years as you've built this new business, and including any lessons learned from those struggles and successes?
Yeah, so I mean, I've discovered that it's really hard for me to take a break from lead building for pipeline because it will result in me having, pauses in work or where I'm only working on one client versus my full client load. So that's one of the things that I've discovered. I've always got to be adding folks to my pipeline. Easiest for me to do public speaking to add those potential leads in. And then the other thing is that I married somebody who's really good at finances. Isn't that horrible? It sounds very non-feminist. But if you do the division of labor, the thing I can't do when I'm sleep deprived is math related things. I'm not, this is why the bookkeeper, like when I am really drowning and I do not have sleep, I cannot do that. I could plan a conference probably, but like the accounting type stuff is just not my sweet spot. And he can do it sleep deprived. So early on, it was like, okay, babe, you're going to be doing our finances because you can do it sleep deprived. So I have a CPA and a bookkeeper and my husband helping me with some of the finances because when life gets chaotic, he can handle it no matter how flooded his brain is. And my brain can't do that.
Wow, that's so interesting that y'all have the separately operating brains that literally complement each other. That's
We
fabulous.
do. I'm so lucky because I hear all these women that try to do all this stuff in the household division of labor, and it just floors me. Very early on, we figured out a way to divide it in a way that I think is very pretty equal. Like for instance, when I was working at Ketchum, so before I started my business, I was at Ketchum building out an online marketing and analytics team, lots of hours. And my husband only knew how to cook one meal, but I was always coming home at 7:38. And I was like, this is before kids, but I was like, babe, if we're going to eat dinner, you're going to have to learn how to cook. So I ended up teaching him how to cook. And now he does most of the cooking just because his schedule is flexible. He's the one that's free when it's time to make dinner most of the time. So anyway, we just have this division of labor because some people, they do it all. They're the ones paying the bills plus, stocking the shelves well with stuff. And no, we divided pretty early on.
Well, I think that's fabulous. And I will tell you, I don't know how much you know about me and my practice, but one of my mottos is a man is not a financial plan. So that's the one thing I would share with you is that it's great to have somebody else running the numbers and everything, but make sure you keep yourself plugged in. Because
right.
yeah.
I do. And we sort of meet about my pipeline somewhat regularly too.
Okay, that is so awesome. Yay. And I'm tickled to hear that you do public speaking as well. So that's awesome. Share with me some of the strategies that you found most effective for managing and maintaining your financial well-being while navigating both your career and life challenges. Sounds like you're using that spouse to help you with that, but can you elaborate?
Yeah, so we had a practice of meeting monthly about our finances. This was prior to the pandemic. And then it got too chaotic to keep that up. So we still talk about long-term plans intermittently, but it's not the same kind of thing. And it was because we had a co-working space that had childcare. That was the big key. And we should probably restart it because my mother lives with us. Mind you, she's probably not, she has a little bit of memory loss. So I don't know that she's fully a babysitter. But just this year, I actually found some COVID cautious babysitters. So we now have that same plan in place where I could have the kids with their babysitter and we could take a break. Not for a date moment, but for a family finances moment.
Yeah, okay,
So we should pick
that's
that back
awesome.
up.
And that to me, that's one of a really important thing to staying married with the divorce work that I do. I find that money is so often the biggest issue. People think it's infidelity, but it's often more like money. So the fact that y'all are actually having conversation and regular meetings on it, that's huge. So yay. And I didn't intend to bring that up, but thank you for doing that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. So, if I'm going to shift gears here and say, if you could have lunch with any person, living or not, who would it be and why?
Well, the first thing that popped up in my head was actually, oh, I don't know. I've got three.
You can share them all.
The first one that came to mind was actually President Obama because I just think he's so brilliant. But more recently, I've also got very excited about Pete Buttigieg and Tom Waltz. All of them. Tom Waltz reminds me a bit of my dad. So maybe any of those three.
Okay, that's awesome. And tell me why. Why would those three people come to mind?
They're all very smart. I would want to have a conversation with somebody that's very smart. Walt's more because he reminds me of my dad. But the other two, they're just great public speakers, and I'm floored by how well they can pivot, in the moment while they're public speaking. That skill is just amazing to me.
That is awesome. And I have to share this with you. I was interviewing another person who's in the DC area that actually worked on Obama's campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And, she was kind of behind the scenes person, but she was equally excited about that as well. So,
yeah. And of course, I sit here, I've been in DC for 20 odd years. So, of course, I mention political folks.
of course.
You can't avoid it if you live here.
Right, absolutely. So tell me, what is the best way for people to contact you if they'd like to work with you or just learn more? Because I know you talked about some online courses and a lot of stuff. So tell us how to reach you.
Yeah, so you can go to wostrategies.com. That's where you can learn more about my podcast or sign up for my course. I'm also migrating to Blue Sky. My handle there is KWATIER, and you can find me on LinkedIn.
Okay, and I have to tell you, I just learned about Blue Sky. I didn't know that existed, but I don't know if I've got the brain space to learn a new platform. But we'll see.
if you've been on Twitter or X, which is the SEO industry has been there forever. I've got leads off of Twitter, so it's really sad that Elon's got it and it's changed, and because I got a lot of benefit when it was Twitter. But anyway, if you're familiar with that, then Blue Sky should seem very familiar.
Okay, awesome. Last question for you. What do you see next for yourself? What's your next big goal?
I don't know. That's a good question. The one thing I miss every year, and I haven't been able to coordinate this, is that I love goal planning and I love doing that New Year's Eve, like what are my goals for the year? That's like totally my thing. And I've always wanted to do sort of like a corporate retreat, but with other freelancers so we could all together talk about goals for the year. It's just never been able to actually get it executed. I want to do more stuff to make the podcast helpful. So I've got a draft of I currently have a map of all the soft skills. So you can go to my website and if you know you're weak in a soft skill, it will link you off to an episode that talks about it. So that's helpful. But what I also want to add on is a way for you to evaluate all your soft skills and figure out which ones you're weak in. And so I'm currently, it's a spreadsheet format. I'm going to see if maybe I could turn it into something more interactive with AI. But that's the idea, is to actually help people figure out where are you weak and then point them to an episode that would help.
I think that is so fabulous. And I'm definitely going to stay tuned so I can watch for that. Hopefully you'll get it done sooner versus later.
I know. Wouldn't that be great?
Okay, awesome. Well, I can't thank you enough for being here with us today. And I know the listeners are going to learn so much. And the biggest learning for me is understanding why we need to hire someone like you. So kudos to you.
Oh, thanks.
All right. I hope today's conversation left you feeling inspired, informed, and ready to take the next step in your financial journey. Remember, building wealth isn't just about money. It's also about creating a life that aligns with your goals and values. If you found this episode valuable, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with the women in your life who deserve financial empowerment too. Until next time, stay confident, stay empowered, and keep building the life you desire.